If you would only dare to believe that you already are the one they seek, everything around you would bend to mirror that truth. You don't become what you want, you become what you assume. So assume it now. Walk into the room as if the very air is aware of your value. Speak not with arrogance but with certainty, the kind that flows from knowing your place in the grand play of life is not random, it is chosen. And you are the one who chose it. There is no power outside of you orchestrating the roles you're allowed to play. The only script that matters is the one you write within. The inner speech, the inner scene, the inner stance. When you wear the feeling of already being the one they seek, you activate laws unseen by the eye but deeply felt by the heart, and the outer world responds obediently, inevitably. It's not about performing or pretending, it's about embodying. You must feel it real. You must sit with the idea of already being chosen, already being admired, already being in demand. And you must do this not once or twice, but until it saturates your subconscious, until you can no longer think of yourself in any other way. Not because you're trying to convince the world, but because you are now convinced within. Think of yourself not as the seeker, but as the sought after. Not as someone waiting for validation, but as the origin of it. Feel the vibration of already being seen, already being recognized, already being loved, and let that feeling become more familiar than your old story. You are not the effect, you are the cause. You are not waiting for the doors to open, you are the door. What would it feel like to be the one they talk about when you leave the room? What would it feel like to be the one they look for in a crowd? You don't need to question whether it's possible. You only need to dwell in the assumption long enough for it to harden into fact. Let the world play catch-up to your inner reality. Act not from desperation, but from completion. If you persist in this state, if you walk, breathe, and respond from the knowing that you are already the one they seek, the world has no choice but to prove you right. The foundation of this speech rests on the timeless truth that assumption creates reality. This is not wishful thinking. It is the law by which the unseen becomes seen, the imagined becomes experienced, and the internal becomes external. Everything you experience in your outer world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting back to you the assumptions you hold about yourself and your relationship to life. Most people live as though life happens to them, reacting to what they see and feel on the outside. But the truth is, the world you move through is a shadow cast by the light of your own consciousness. If you assume you are overlooked, unimportant, or not enough, life will continuously reflect circumstances and interactions that reinforce that belief. But the moment you change your assumption to one of worthiness, visibility, and value, the reflection must change, because it cannot contradict the source. Assumption is not merely thinking positively or hoping things will go your way. It is a deep inner conviction that what you imagine is already true, regardless of what your senses report. Your five senses may scream otherwise. Your bank account may disagree. Your relationships may still feel incomplete. But when you persist in the assumption that you are already who you desire to be, reality begins to bend around your new inner stance. The outer world may delay in catching up, but it must catch up because the source has shifted. The blueprint from which reality is shaped has changed. You are always assuming something. There is no neutral ground. Even doubt is an assumption. Fear is an assumption. Hope, when not rooted in faith, can even be an assumption of lack. So the key is not whether you are assuming, it is what you are assuming. When you begin to assume you are the one they seek, everything transforms. Not because they have changed, but because you have. You are no longer radiating the frequency of longing or chasing or needing. You are now radiating the energy of completeness, confidence, and silent knowing. That energy is magnetic. It draws to you people, circumstances, and experiences that match its frequency. To assume is to accept a new reality inwardly and live from it mentally and emotionally before any outer evidence arrives. This requires a level of imagination that goes beyond fantasy and taps into creative power. The same power that designed the stars and orchestrates the rhythm of the seasons, flows through you. When you imagine yourself as the one they seek, and you do so repeatedly with feeling and belief, you are not pretending, you are planting the seed. And every seed, when nurtured by faith and repetition, must sprout. There is no need to ask for permission from the world. You do not need confirmation or agreement from others. The only agreement that matters is the one you make with yourself. That from this moment forward you walk, speak, and live as the one who is already chosen, desired, admired. This is not arrogance, it is spiritual authority. It is the understanding that you are a creator, not a victim of circumstances. The assumption that you are not yet enough, not yet seen, not yet ready. Those are the illusions you have been living under. And illusions fall apart the moment you stop feeding them with belief. The process of changing assumption is not a one-time decision. It is a disciplined practice. You must return to it again and again, especially when your outer world appears to contradict it. You must override the temptation to judge by appearances and instead judge by the truth you have chosen to internalize. If you assume you are the one they seek, you begin to notice new patterns. People treat you differently. Opportunities seem to emerge without effort, not because you forced them into being, but because they were always waiting for your recognition. The change within unlocks the unseen doors around you. This principle does not only apply to relationships or admiration, it applies to every area of life. Assume you are already healthy. Assume you are already abundant. Assume you are already wise. These assumptions, when felt deeply, reorganize the energies around you. They awaken dormant potentials within you. They create a resonance that aligns you with the very things you once thought were far away. You no longer act from a place of striving, you act from a place of having. This changes everything. You do not need to explain your new assumption to anyone. You do not need to justify it or make it logical. The world is not moved by logic, it is moved by belief. When you believe something so deeply that you begin to live from it, the world conforms. It cannot help but conform. That is the nature of the law. That is the secret the mystics, prophets, and visionaries have always known. Not that reality is fixed, but that it is fluid, malleable to the one who dares to believe it already is. What you assume becomes a command to the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind has no sense of humor, no sense of judgment. It simply accepts. It receives what you persistently feel is true and sets the machinery of your life in motion to match that inner acceptance. This is why it is so vital to assume wisely, to feel deliberately, to imagine boldly. You are not at the mercy of chance, you are shaping your experience with every thought, soaked in emotion, with every mental scene that you revisit often enough to feel real. So if you would truly transform your life, stop asking, how can I get them to see me? And start living from the answer, I am the one they seek. Carry yourself with that awareness. Sit with that energy. Let it be the backdrop of every conversation, every decision, every step. It may feel unfamiliar at first. That is only because you've been practicing a different assumption for too long. But the new one is just as available, just as accessible, and far more aligned with your true nature. You do not need to wait for proof. You are the proof. Your state of consciousness is the cause. Assume it now, feel it now, and the world will follow. It must. To act as if you are the one they seek is not about pretending or putting on a show for the world. It's about entering into a deeper state of embodiment, a state where you no longer chase the identity you desire, but you become it from within. You do not reach for it, you rest in it. Embodiment is the secret. It is the invisible shift that changes everything without needing to force or prove anything on the outside. Pretending is shallow. It wears thin. It is driven by fear and the need for external approval, but true embodiment is internal, calm, unshakable, and it doesn't waver based on whether anyone else notices or responds. To embody is to become. It means you carry the vibration of your chosen identity so fully that even when no one else acknowledges it, you still know it's true. You walk with it, you speak from it, you think in alignment with it, you respond to life as though that version of you has already been born. And in truth, it has. The moment you accept it within, it begins to live through you. There is no need to manipulate your surroundings or adjust your behavior to gain favor. When you are it, the world bends to reflect it. Many people try to fake confidence, hoping it will eventually turn real. But faking is born from the belief that you are not yet that person. It still holds the vibration of lack and longing. It says, if I act this way, maybe I will be accepted. But the body cannot lie. The energy you carry speaks louder than words, louder than actions. If your mind is pretending, but your heart is uncertain, the signal you emit will still be one of doubt. The power lies not in mimicry, but in alignment. When your inner state is in harmony with your desired identity, there is no effort, there is no performance. This is not about arrogance or domination. Embodiment has nothing to prove. It is quiet, certain, and magnetic. It does not chase. It does not compete. It simply is. Think of someone who enters a room and instantly draws attention, not because they're loud or demanding, but because there's something about their energy that feels whole, complete, settled. That is embodiment. They are not trying to be liked, they are not asking to be seen. They are seen because they have already seen themselves. You don't need to play games to be noticed when you have already claimed your worth internally. You don't need to over-explain, over-give, or over-perform when your identity is secure. Embodiment replaces striving with stillness. It allows you to move through the world without friction, because the world is now a reflection of your internal shift. It is not about forcing circumstances. It is about allowing them to rearrange around your new self-concept. When you practice embodiment, you begin to feel the difference between acting out of need and acting out of knowing. Need carries tension. Knowing carries ease. Pretending is anxious. Embodiment is grounded. Pretending asks, what do I need to do to be enough? Embodiment affirms, I already am. This internal affirmation, repeated in silence and felt deeply, becomes the soil from which all change blossoms. You no longer need to grasp for signs. You become the sign. You become the signal. You are no longer seeking validation. You are radiating from a space of having already been validated by your own awareness. There is a subtle but powerful distinction between trying to be someone and allowing yourself to become that someone. Trying implies separation. Becoming implies union. When you try to act as if you're confident, you're still entertaining the idea that you're not. But when you feel it from within, even just slightly, and nurture that feeling as if it's your natural state, you begin to overwrite the old identity. The subconscious mind begins to accept it. And once it accepts it, it acts upon it. Embodying the version of you who is sought after means you hold your head differently. You speak with a different rhythm. You choose differently. Not to impress, but because your internal standards have shifted. You no longer ask, will they like me? Instead, you feel the truth. I am already the one. And not just in the eyes of others, but in the eyes of your own awareness. That is where all true transformation begins. Others may catch on later. Their recognition is only the echo of your internal decision. The world cannot give you what you refuse to give yourself. If you refuse to see your own value, if you refuse to sit in the energy of already being chosen, nothing you do on the outside will compensate for that inner disconnect. You might temporarily attract attention, but it won't feel stable. It won't last, because it was built on a shaky foundation. Embodiment is the stable foundation. It is the deep root from which your outer life grows. When you begin to embody, everything changes, not because you forced it, but because you became it. This is not about fooling yourself, it's about choosing a higher truth and living from it until it becomes the only truth you know. It's about shedding the old narratives, the old roles, the old wounds that told you you had to earn what you were always worthy of. When you truly believe you are already the one they seek, there is nothing more to chase. There is only the natural unfolding of your chosen reality. The version of you that is admired, respected, loved, and sought after already exists within. It is not a future version. It is a present potential, waiting for permission to emerge. That permission is granted the moment you stop pretending and start embodying. That moment is yours to choose, not tomorrow, not when circumstances change, but now. In this breath, in this awareness, in this decision to become what you already are on the unseen level. This embodiment may begin subtly. A new thought, a shift in posture, a quiet decision not to overextend. And yet with each moment you honor this new identity, you strengthen it. You feed it, you breathe life into it, and as you do, the old self dissolves, not through struggle, but through surrender. You don't need to destroy the old version of you. You simply stop energizing it. You stop rehearsing it. You stop identifying with it. And in its place, the real you rises, not the one shaped by fear or past experiences, but the one shaped by truth, by choice, by the divine ability to imagine and become. You don't have to wait for the world to see it. The moment you feel it, the process has already begun. You have moved. And when you move within, the world eventually must follow. When you imagine that you are already the one they seek, you are engaging the most powerful creative force within you, the imagination. This is not fantasy or wishful thinking. It is a deliberate act of consciousness, a sacred inner movement that reshapes your identity from the inside out. Your imagination is the workshop of reality. It is not merely a place for idle dreams, but the very womb from which all outer experience is born. The moment you imagine yourself as the one they seek, and you feel it to be real, you plant a seed that reality must respond to. Not because the outer world needs convincing, but because your inner world has shifted its frequency. Every version of you already exists. There is a version of you who is overlooked, and a version of you who is desired, respected, and deeply sought after. These are not things you must earn through effort. They are states of consciousness that you enter through the door of imagination. The only question is, which version are you aligning with right now? Your assumption creates your world. If you assume lack, lack continues. If you assume you are invisible, people continue to overlook you. But the moment you dare to assume the feeling of being the one they seek, everything changes. Not always immediately, on the outside, but instantly within. And that inner change is the cause of all future manifestations. Imagination is not about pretending with your eyes closed. It is about feeling with your heart open. When you sit quietly and let your imagination present the scene in which you are the center of someone's admiration or affection, and you accept that scene as real, you shift your self-concept. You begin to inhabit a new version of yourself, not through willpower, but through emotional acceptance. The secret lies in the feeling. It is not enough to visualize a beautiful scene. You must feel the truth of it as though it is happening now. That is what impresses the subconscious mind. That is what begins the transformation. When you imagine yourself as the one they seek, you're not just attracting people, you're aligning with the identity that naturally receives love, attention, and recognition. The external becomes secondary. You are not imagining to make something happen. You are imagining to become someone new. And from that place of being, all things are drawn effortlessly. You are not trying to control outcomes. You are becoming the outcome. This is not manipulation. It is alignment with truth. And the truth is that you are whatever you accept yourself to be. This practice is subtle but profound. It requires nothing from the outside. No approval, no confirmation, no evidence. You simply turn inward and choose the feeling of already being wanted, admired, respected, and sought. At first, this may feel unfamiliar. It may feel unearned. But that's only because the old self is still clinging to stories of rejection or unworthiness. Let those stories dissolve. Let them fade. They were never the truth. They were only repeated ideas you accepted for a time. And now you are choosing something new. You are choosing to imagine yourself through the eyes of love, through the lens of value, through the awareness of divine worth. Do not underestimate the power of a single imagined scene. A moment of clear, vivid, emotionally charged imagination can accomplish more than months of external effort. You could chase validation from others, or you could sit in silence for a few minutes and know that it is already yours. The latter is the path of mastery. The world does not need to see it before you believe it. The world will see it because you believe it. That is the law. That is the mystery made simple. Imagination is your creative tool, your spiritual mirror. Whatever you impress upon it will echo in the outer world in due time. The key is persistence, not in effort, but in belief. Keep returning to the feeling. Keep accepting the scene. Let it become normal to you. When it no longer feels strange to imagine yourself as the one they seek, you will know it has taken root. You will begin to carry that energy naturally, without forcing anything. People will respond to you differently. Not because you said the right words or played a role, but because your inner vibration has changed. This is how transformation happens, not by striving, but by seeing. See yourself in a new light. See yourself through the eyes of the one who adores you, values you, and seeks you out. And feel what that feels like, not for their sake, but for yours. Because you are not waiting to be chosen. You are choosing yourself now, in this moment, by claiming the reality of your desire within. You don't need to know how it will happen. That's not your task. Your only task is to remain faithful to the inner vision. That is your responsibility. To hold the state, to return to it, to let it become your natural dwelling place. When your inner world reflects the truth that you are already the one they seek, the outer world must adjust. It cannot do otherwise. The world is a mirror, and it reflects not just what you think, but what you feel to be real. So feel wisely, imagine with intention. Become familiar with the feeling of being desired, not from ego, but from essence. Every time you return to your imagination, you are building the new self. You are weaving a reality more aligned with who you truly are. The old self may whisper doubts. That is normal. But you are no longer feeding those doubts. You are feeding the new truth. You are no longer worshipping the old image of being forgotten, rejected, or overlooked. You are now seeing yourself as someone worthy of being remembered, welcomed, and wanted. And you are letting that image take root deep in your subconscious. Imagination is the rehearsal of reality. What you feel in imagination, you eventually feel in experience. So practice with love. Practice with joy. Let it be playful. Let it be sacred. Let it be yours. You don't need to wait for life to show you that you're chosen. You can decide that now. And once you do, everything that belongs to that decision begins its journey to you. You will not need to chase, beg, or prove. You will simply receive, because you already are the one they seek. And imagination is how you remember. To walk, speak, think, and carry yourself as the one they seek is to embody the state of your desire fully and completely, without compromise or delay. It means that your actions in the present moment must reflect the truth of what you have assumed in imagination. You do not wait for the outer world to confirm your worth. You live from the knowing that you already are what you desire to be. When you move as if you are already chosen, already admired, already loved, you begin to vibrate at a frequency that naturally calls forth experiences to match it. This is not about pretending. It is not about performance. It is about alignment, deep, felt, and rooted in identity. What you do in the outer world flows directly from the inner world you inhabit. If you are internally still carrying the burden of being unwanted, overlooked, or inadequate, your actions will carry the flavor of that belief. You may speak with hesitation. You may shrink in the presence of others. You may censor your words, hoping not to offend or be rejected. These are the unconscious movements of a self-concept that has not yet been revived. But the moment you begin to truly assume that you are the one they seek, your posture shifts. Your words carry new power. Your energy changes rooms before you even speak. You don't have to try to impress. Your being speaks on your behalf. Living from the state of being the one they seek is not about arrogance or superiority. It is about inner certainty. It is about walking into every room knowing that you belong, that you are seen, that you are chosen. Not because someone else said so, but because you decided it within. That decision is sacred. That decision rewrites your story. There is no need to force outcomes or manipulate appearances. When you act from the inner state of being already sought after, the universe reflects that state in ways you could not orchestrate if you tried. You cannot say, "I am the one they seek," while walking like the one they overlook. You cannot affirm your value while acting in contradiction to it. That is the fragmentation most people live in. They want to be seen but behave as though they are invisible. They want to be loved but carry themselves as if unworthy. The remedy is not found in doing more, trying harder, or saying the right things. The remedy is in being what you already are in the unseen, and allowing that reality to inform your presence. To carry yourself as the one they seek means you do not apologize for your existence, you do not wait for permission to shine, you do not second-guess your intuition or dilute your truth for the sake of being accepted. You understand that you already are acceptance. You are love embodied. You are the answer to someone's prayer. You are the energy someone is craving to experience. And that knowing allows you to move through life with grace and confidence, not because of ego, but because of clarity. When your mind is saturated with the assumption of being the one, your thoughts begin to reflect that assumption automatically. You stop wondering if you're enough. You stop replaying past mistakes. You stop seeking external validation. Your inner dialogue becomes loving, supportive, calm. You think from the end, and thinking from the end produces actions that harmonize with that end. When you speak, it's with authority. Not the loud authority of domination, but the quiet authority of truth. When you interact with others, it's not from a place of needing approval, but from a place of already being secure in who you are. Your walk changes. Your tone of voice changes. Your choices reflect your new self-image. You no longer settle for relationships, jobs, or situations that contradict your worth. You make different decisions. Not because you're trying to change things, but because you have already changed. The inner shift is what dictates the outer alignment. You begin to carry a presence that magnetizes. Not because you're pushing, but because you're aligned. You become the embodiment of your desire. And embodiment is the only language the universe understands. Every action becomes an extension of the inner knowing. You eat as the one who is loved. You dress as the one who is seen. You speak as the one who is heard. You no longer act in desperation, hoping for attention or approval. You act in reverence, honoring your divine identity. This changes your habits, your routines, your entire relationship with life. It becomes less about doing and more about being. And from that state of being, inspired action arises naturally. You don't force yourself to network, chase, or prove. You follow what feels aligned. And because you are already living from the end, those actions are deeply powerful. There is a difference between acting for validation and acting from identity. One is rooted in fear, the other is rooted in faith. When you are rooted in faith, that you are already the one they seek. You no longer need constant confirmation. A delay does not disturb you. A rejection does not shake you. You remain stable in the unseen truth. And the longer you dwell in that state, the more naturally it becomes your default. You begin to forget the old self, the one who waited to be picked. And you begin to remember who you've always been. The one who is always worthy, always radiant, always sought. You are not playing a role. You are revealing the truth. You are shedding the layers of unworthiness and stepping into the identity that was yours before the world convinced you otherwise. This is not new. It is ancient. It is not borrowed, it is original. The moment you commit to acting, thinking, and carrying yourself as the one they seek, the old world begins to crumble. Not because you're fighting it, but because you are no longer feeding it. You are no longer giving your energy to a version of you that is not true. You have chosen to return home to the self that is already whole. And as you continue walking in this state, moment by moment, breath by breath, the bridge of events begins to form. The people, opportunities, and confirmations begin to appear, not to convince you, but to reflect you. You see, it was never about making them see your value. It was about you seeing your value so clearly that the outer world had no choice but to comply. You are not acting as if in pretense. You are acting as it already is, as it has always been. This is how you embody the truth. This is how you become the one they seek. When you no longer look outside of yourself for confirmation, you begin to move in power. This is the secret most people never discover. They spend their lives waiting for someone else to validate them, to recognize their worth, to point and say, "You're the one." But in that waiting, they give away their creative power. They forget that reality itself bends not to the opinions of others, but to the convictions we hold within ourselves. The moment you stop needing external permission to believe in who you are, you unlock a dimension of authority that shifts your entire world. It's not about arrogance or pretending you don't care what others think. It's about anchoring so deeply in the truth of your being that whether someone applauds or ignores you, you remain unmoved. You've already seen yourself. You've already chosen yourself. The opinions of others become information, not instruction. They no longer dictate your worth or your direction. You become self-directed, internally sourced. That's where the real power lives, not in external noise, but in inner clarity. When you act as if you are the one they seek, you don't look around for evidence. You look within. You let imagination lead. You dwell in the end where you are already chosen, already loved, already needed. You don't need signs to believe. You don't require confirmation to feel secure. Your inner conviction becomes your only reality, and the outer world begins to mirror it in time. You don't demand attention. You radiate presence. You don't chase validation. You walk in knowing. And it is that knowing that alters the environment around you. To no longer seek confirmation is to rest in the fulfilled desire. You are not trying to make it happen. You are not begging the world to give you what you already are. You have declared it within. You have seen it in the imagination and felt it as true. That inner acceptance becomes the only thing that matters. And because you no longer give your power to external reactions, you are free to speak from your center, free to walk with unshakable confidence, free to create without concern for who is watching. The outer world is a delayed reflection of the inner man. Most people make the mistake of trying to change the mirror. They wait for the reflection to smile before they do. But you understand now that the smile must come first, from within. That self-recognition, that quiet acknowledgement of your worth, is the catalyst. The more you stay in that self-appointed knowing, the less you are swayed by appearances. People may not see it yet. They may doubt, reject, or ignore you. But if you persist in the assumption, if you continue to dwell in the feeling of being the one they seek, something begins to shift. Not because you forced it, but because you no longer need it. The need for external confirmation creates resistance. It's rooted in a belief that the outer world has the final say. But the moment you drop that belief, the pressure dissolves. You're not asking anymore, you're not pleading, you're being, and being is enough. From that state of being, life reorganizes itself to meet you. The right people appear, the right doors open, the resources show up, not to convince you of your worth, but to echo what you've already accepted. When you walk in this inner authority, even silence doesn't disturb you. You don't panic when people are slow to respond. You don't question your value when results delay. You know that nothing real is ever lost. You know that what you have assumed in consciousness must externalize, whether today, tomorrow, or next week. The timing is not your concern. Your task is to remain faithful to the end you've chosen. You hold the vibration, the state, the feeling. You nourish it with your attention, and you withdraw your energy from all that contradicts it. You understand that even the lack of response is part of the process. Even the quiet moments are shaping you. They are opportunities to deepen your self-trust, to remain firm in the unseen, to prove to yourself that you no longer require applause to stay in your power. You become the audience to your own becoming. You celebrate yourself before anyone else does. You see the beauty, the value, the greatness within, and that sight becomes your source of strength. No one can give you what you have not yet given yourself. If you want the world to treat you as the one, you must first decide that you are. You must become unshakable in that knowing, regardless of who agrees or disagrees. You stop measuring your progress by external metrics. You stop evaluating your worth by who notices. You become inwardly whole. And from that wholeness, your life begins to express a different kind of rhythm, a rhythm of confidence, flow, and magnetism. You no longer need to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. That choice reverberates through your actions. You show up differently. You communicate with more certainty. You carry yourself like someone who knows exactly what they bring. You're not afraid to walk away from what doesn't align because you're no longer afraid of being alone. You've found the company of your own approval, and it is enough. And in that space of enoughness, everything you once chased starts chasing you. You become your own evidence. You become your own reason. You wake up with purpose, not because someone told you you're worthy, but because you felt it in your own being. You no longer look outside to be reminded of who you are. You remember daily. You affirm it hourly. You embody it minute by minute. And as you do, the outer world begins to conform. Not to your demands, but to your state. It cannot help but reflect what you are being. This is what it means to stop seeking confirmation. It is to enter into union with the self you desire to be and live from that union regardless of external feedback. You have seen the end in imagination. You have felt its reality. And now you dwell in that place with such conviction that reality bends to accommodate it. The world no longer dictates your belief. Your belief reshapes the world. When you desire to be loved by someone, to be cherished and held in the sacred space of their heart, you must not look to the outer world for signs of approval. Instead, you must go within, for it is within that all relationships begin and all connections are formed. The secret is not to wait for them to love you, not to ask whether they feel the same. The secret is to act now, in this very moment, as if you are already in their heart. What does it mean to be in someone's heart? It is to be present in their thoughts, to be held with affection, to be the warmth behind their smile and the calm within their chaos. And if you can imagine that vividly, if you can accept it as already true, then it is. You need not beg for attention, nor chase after their love. When you live from the state of being already loved, already chosen, already secure in their affection, the world must conform. Your inner conversation is the birthplace of reality. If you walk around saying to yourself, they don't notice me, or they might reject me, then you are giving life to that story. But if you revise your inner speech and dwell in the feeling, they love me so deeply, they think of me constantly, I am always in their heart, then this becomes your truth. And it must externalize. You are not manipulating another's will. You are only awakening within them the version of themselves that is already in harmony with the love you hold. Feel the warmth of being remembered. Feel the joy of knowing that somewhere they are smiling because the thought of you has touched them gently. Walk through your days as the beloved. Eat, speak, sleep, and move through life as someone whose presence is treasured. Don't wait for a message, a look, or a word. Create the message inwardly. Imagine the look. Hear the word in your mind until it takes root, because all that you see begins in the unseen. You are not hoping for their love, you are expressing it, and in that expression you claim it. When doubt arises and the world seems unchanged, go back to your imagination. That is your true reality. Close your eyes and see them holding your name in their heart, cherishing it like a sacred flame. Feel the texture of that connection, the depth of it, as if it has always been there. Act not with desperation, but with knowing. Speak not with longing, but with certainty. You are not on the outside trying to be let in. You are already home. You are already known. You are already loved. That's the truth you must accept and live from. For as you assume, so shall it be. To live from the end is to claim in consciousness the fulfillment of your desire before it has taken shape in the physical world. It means to abandon the waiting, the wishing, the doubting, and to enter fully into the reality of already having what you seek. When it comes to being in someone's heart, the outer world will tempt you to believe that you must first win their affection, perform for their approval, or wait for them to choose you. But in truth, you are not here to be chosen by them. You are here to choose your state of being. You are here to dwell in the feeling of already being loved, already being in their heart. And from that dwelling place, your outer reality will mirror what you hold within. You must learn to shift your attention from appearances to assumptions. The senses may declare that you are ignored, that there is no communication, that you are unloved, but those are only the echoes of previous assumptions. If you continue to react to them, you remain a servant of the old state. But the moment you withdraw belief from what your senses report, and instead embrace the unseen truth that you are already deeply cherished by the one you desire, you become the master, the one who creates, the one who leads the world into new form. To live from the end, imagine what your life would feel like if you were truly in their heart right now. How would you carry yourself? How would you walk into a room? What kind of inner peace would you have, knowing you are already loved, already claimed, already wanted? There would be no fear, no confusion, no need to beg or prove your worth. You would smile easily, trust deeply, and move through your day with quiet assurance. That is the state you must enter, not as a future hope, but as a present fact. You do not need to see evidence of love in the outer world to begin living as the beloved. That is the great illusion, that the world must change first so that you can feel secure. But that path never leads to transformation. It only reinforces lack and separation. The true power lies in flipping that pattern, feeling secure first, loved first, chosen first, and letting the world follow suit. When you persist in this new assumption, it must outpicture itself, not because you are forcing it, but because you are embodying it. Begin with your inner speech. Instead of repeating the old narrative, they don't notice me, they might not care, I'm still waiting, replace it with a new conversation. Speak inwardly as if they are already thinking of you, already loving you, already feeling your presence in their heart. Say to yourself, I am in their heart. I am their peace. I am the one they hold close in thought. I am their joy, their calm, their home. As you repeat these truths in silence, they begin to form a new inner atmosphere. And from this new atmosphere, new conditions must emerge. This is not about pretending. It is not about tricking yourself. It is about identifying with the version of you who is already loved. That version exists now, not in some distant future. And your task is not to become it, but to realize it, to accept it, to surrender to it with full conviction. When you walk through life with the feeling that you are in their heart, your energy shifts, your posture changes, your expectations realign. You no longer chase or cling or wait. You simply dwell in knowing, and that knowing becomes magnetic. The outer world cannot help but reflect it. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is your only true guide. When doubts come, and they will, you must return to this feeling over and over again. You must remember that reality is not built from effort, but from assumption. That means you do not need to convince anyone of your worth, or perform rituals, or analyze their behavior. You only need to return to the truth. You are already in their heart. That is the end you are living from. And to live from the end is to see every current moment as shaped by that outcome, even when appearances say otherwise. Imagine waking up and knowing that someone, somewhere, is thinking about you with tenderness. Imagine going about your day knowing that you are loved from afar, that your presence lives inside their heart even when you are not physically near. Let that vision color everything you do. Let it become the lens through which you see the world. Do not act like someone trying to get into their heart. Act like someone who already resides there, because the version of you who is in their heart is not a fiction. It is a fact, waiting for you to align with it. In that state, you are free. You no longer operate from need or longing. You operate from fulfillment. And fulfillment does not chase, it attracts. It magnetizes, it invites. It lives in peace because it has already received. And when you live from this end long enough, the outer world will begin to show you signs, a message, a look, a shift. But even when the signs appear, you will not be surprised, because you have already lived the reality internally. You will not be shaken because you have already claimed it. You will not be grateful because it happened. You will be grateful because you knew it would. Living from the end means trusting that the inner reality is the cause and the outer world is the effect. The moment you feel the desire, the outcome is already created in the unseen. You are not working to make it happen, you are simply aligning yourself with what already exists. And how do you do that? By acting like you are already in their heart. By being that version of yourself in every moment. By refusing to entertain any thought or emotion that contradicts your chosen state. This is how creation works. Not by struggle, but by assumption. Not by waiting, but by embodying. Your inner conversation is the hidden script that writes your reality. What you repeat to yourself in silence, the thoughts you allow to linger, the emotional tones that color your inner dialogue. These are not passive whispers. They are powerful builders of form. If you want to dwell in someone's heart, to be the object of their love, then your inner speech must reflect that state. You cannot think one way and live another. The law does not respond to what you wish for. It responds to what you are in consciousness, what you accept and persist in, even when the outer world seems to tell a different story. Most people are unaware of the constant chatter going on within them. They repeat old stories, relive past rejections, imagine worst-case scenarios, and then wonder why the world feels cold or indifferent. But if you truly knew the power of your inner speech, you would guard it like treasure. You will become selective and intentional, feeding your mind only with that which supports the reality you wish to experience. To act like you are already in their heart, your inner conversation must become that of the beloved, not the seeker, not the outsider, but the one who is already claimed. This is not about merely saying positive things to yourself. It is about feeling the truth of those things. When you tell yourself, they love me, but underneath you feel emptiness or disbelief, then you are not truly speaking from the state of being loved. You are trying to override doubt without addressing it. The key is to slow down, get quiet, and imagine what it would feel like if that phrase were absolutely true. Let it sink into your body. Let it settle into your breath. Speak it not just with words, but with being. Say within, I am already theirs. I am already in their heart. And feel the reality of that as if it were the air you breathe. You must create an atmosphere within yourself that reflects your desired outcome. Speak to yourself as the chosen one, as the deeply loved, as the one who brings joy and peace to the other. Let your inner tone match the mood of fulfillment. This is how you instruct your subconscious. This is how you impress upon the deeper layers of mind the state you wish to externalize. And once it is impressed, it must express. The beauty of inner conversation is that it is entirely under your control. No one can hear it, no one can interfere with it, and it does not rely on the cooperation of others. You are sovereign in that space. And that sovereignty is sacred. It means that no matter what someone says or does, you can return to your chosen dialogue. You can persist in the story you want to live. And as you persist, you shift the pattern of your life. You may be tempted to look outward for validation. You may check your phone, wait for a message, interpret their actions, or analyze their silence. But this is living from reaction, not creation. Instead, go back to the inner speech. That is your true place of power. Instead of wondering what they are thinking, tell yourself what they are thinking. Speak from the place of connection, not separation. Hear them say within your mind, I can't stop thinking about you. You are always in my heart. Let that become the natural language of your inner world. This is not delusion, this is alignment. This is understanding that what you entertain mentally becomes the mold for what you experience externally. You do not need to force others to act differently. You simply need to believe so fully in your new inner script that it must be mirrored back to you. This is how you collapse the distance between desire and fulfillment. You collapse it within your own consciousness by refusing to entertain any idea that contradicts your chosen truth. If the old thoughts come, thoughts of being ignored, unworthy, forgotten, you must meet them with firmness, not by resisting them in fear, but by replacing them with new dialogue. Say inwardly, that's no longer my story. I am remembered, I am wanted, I am deeply loved. Say it often, say it gently, say it with conviction. Over time, your subconscious will accept this new story as fact, and once accepted, it must be expressed. Your inner conversation is like a movie playing on a private screen. And just like a film script, it contains scenes, emotions, and outcomes. Ask yourself, what kind of story am I telling within? Is it a story of being chosen or rejected, of being desired or overlooked, of being in their heart or outside of it? If you don't like the current script, rewrite it. Do not wait for life to change before you change your inner dialogue. Change it now, and life will follow. To dwell in someone's heart, your inner voice must speak from that dwelling place. Speak to them inwardly with affection. Imagine they are responding with warmth. Carry on entire conversations in silence, knowing that these dialogues are more real than anything happening in the outer world. When you do this consistently, the subconscious begins to accept the relationship as real. And the moment it accepts, it begins to organize your reality to reflect that truth. There is no need to ask, is this working? That question only reveals doubt. Instead, trust the process of inner speech. Trust that what you affirm and imagine in your own mind is shaping the world you walk through. And if the world seems unchanged, persist in the new conversation. Do not revert to the old story. The old story brought the old results. If you want new results, you must hold to the new story with unwavering faith. Even when the evidence is lacking, you can choose your dialogue. You can speak from the place of knowing. You can hear them in your heart saying, "You're the one I've always cared for." You can feel their presence through the language you carry within. This is the unseen force that draws love to you. Not effort, not manipulation, but the faithful practice of speaking from love, of thinking from the end, of embodying the truth you want to see. Let every thought become a seed of connection. Let every inner phrase reflect the version of you who is already in the heart. And as you speak within, so it shall be without. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. You lived it inwardly first, and life had no choice but to echo what you claimed as true. Feeling is the secret doorway to all manifestation. What you feel in the depths of your being becomes the atmosphere in which your life unfolds. When you desire to be in someone's heart, to be loved and cherished by them, it is not enough to merely think about it. You must feel it as real. You must enter the state emotionally, not just intellectually. It is feeling that impresses upon the subconscious mind, and it is the subconscious that brings forth everything you experience. You are not trying to make something happen, you are claiming it as already done through the power of feeling. Thoughts are seeds, but feelings are the soil that gives them life. You may repeat affirmations all day long, but if those words are not backed by feeling, they remain dry and ineffective. You may tell yourself, "They love me," but if beneath those words you feel ignored, unwanted, or doubtful, then it is that emotional vibration that is being communicated to the subconscious, not the words themselves. The subconscious does not respond to empty phrases. It responds to the dominant mood you carry, the atmosphere of your inner world, the sensations that feel most natural to you. To act like you are already in their heart, you must feel what it's like to be loved by them. Close your eyes and imagine it, not with strain or effort, but with softness. Imagine them looking at you with love in their eyes. Imagine the warmth of their presence, the gentle peace of being safe in their affection. Let yourself feel wanted, chosen, remembered. Let that emotion rise naturally, like the warmth of the sun touching your skin. You are not asking for this love, you are experiencing it within. And this internal experience becomes the blueprint for what your outer world must reflect. Many people believe they must wait for love to appear in their life before they can feel it. But the law works in the opposite direction. You must feel the love first, and then it appears. The feeling is the cause. The external expression is the effect. There is no power in waiting. There is only power in assuming the emotional state of fulfillment now. When you walk through the world feeling deeply loved, that feeling sends a signal, a vibration, and the world responds accordingly. This is not about pretending. It's not about faking emotions or forcing feelings. It is about gently aligning yourself with what already exists in the unseen. The version of reality in which you are already in their heart is not a fantasy. It is a real dimension of possibility, and the way to step into that version is through the doorway of feeling. When you consistently dwell in the feeling of being loved, you shift timeline. You move into the version of self and world where that love is reflected back to you. Feeling is more than emotion. It is a deep conviction, an inner knowing, a sense of reality that saturates your being. When you feel loved, you act differently. You speak with ease, you walk with confidence, you breathe more freely. The body responds to the feeling and the outer world adjusts itself to stay in harmony with your internal atmosphere. You become a living embodiment of your assumption. You do not wait to see if they'll return your affection. You embody the truth that they already do, and in that embodiment, you become magnetic. If you ever feel discouraged or disconnected, do not look outside for reassurance. Return to the feeling, return to the state. You can access it at any time, no matter what is happening externally. You can go within and feel their arms around you. Feel the softness of their voice calling your name with affection. You can lie in bed and imagine the calm joy of knowing that you are always in their thoughts. Let that feeling become familiar. Let it become your emotional home. You don't need hours of visualization. A moment of sincere, concentrated feeling is more powerful than hours of unfocused thinking. Even 60 seconds of truly dwelling in the state of being loved can begin to shift your consciousness. And when your consciousness shifts, your life must shift with it. The law is perfect, it does not fail. What you feel is true, consistently and persistently, must harden into fact. This is why it is essential to guard your emotional atmosphere. Be aware of what you're feeding your heart and mind. Are you dwelling in the feeling of being unwanted, or are you dwelling in the feeling of being adored? Are you imagining separation, or are you embodying union? The difference between longing and fulfillment is not time, it is feeling. The moment you feel fulfilled, even if nothing has changed outwardly, you have already begun the process of manifestation. Allow yourself to fall in love with the feeling itself. Don't wait for a specific moment or event. Let the feeling be enough. Let it be your comfort, your joy, your daily practice. And as you surrender more deeply into it, the outer world will begin to reflect that love back to you, not as a reward, but as a natural consequence of the inner state you have accepted as real. Whenever doubts arise, do not resist them. Simply acknowledge them and gently return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Remind yourself that your feelings are creating reality, not in the future, but now. So choose the feeling that aligns with your desired outcome. Choose it again and again until it becomes second nature. Choose to feel loved, choose to feel connected, choose to feel that you are already in their heart, and let that feeling be the truth you live from. This practice does not require anyone else's permission. You do not need them to confirm what you already know in your heart. You do not need them to act a certain way to feel a certain way. You create the emotional state first and trust that reality will follow. The more deeply you feel it, the faster it must come. There is no exception to this law. What you feel is true becomes your life. You may not know how or when the outer reflection will occur. That is not your concern. Your only task is to feel the love, feel the closeness, feel the quiet certainty that you are treasured beyond words. Feel it until you no longer question it. Feel it until it becomes your natural state. Feel it until you forget the old story and live entirely from the new one. The world is not separate from your feelings. It is shaped by them, molded by them, compelled by them. And when you choose the feeling of being in their heart, life bends to accommodate that truth. Imagination is the only reality. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you call real began first in the invisible realm of imagination. It is not a passive escape or idle daydreaming. It is the creative act itself. If you desire to be in someone's heart, you must first imagine it as vividly and naturally as you would recall a memory. You must give yourself permission to dwell in that unseen experience until it becomes more real to you than the physical world. Because what is real in imagination, when held with faith and persistence, must eventually crystallize into form. When you imagine a scene with feeling, you impress it upon the subconscious mind, which is the womb of creation. It accepts whatever image you place within it and brings it forth without question, without effort, and without delay. unless you interfere with the process through doubt, fear, or contradiction. So when you imagine being loved, being wanted, being held in someone's heart, you are not indulging in fantasy. You are planting the seed of your new reality. And if you do not dig up that seed with disbelief, it must grow. To use imagination as your reality, you must detach from the outer senses. You must close your eyes to the appearance of things and open them inwardly to the truth you want to live. What you see in the physical world is only the echo of past imaginal acts. If you judge your current reality and assume that it has power over you, you fall into bondage. But if you see it for what it is, a mirror of former beliefs, you can rise above it and consciously choose a new vision. Imagination allows you to go anywhere, be anyone, experience anything. It is your sacred power, given not to entertain you, but to free you. And the most liberating realization is that you do not need to wait for someone to love you in order to feel loved. You can go within and create the scene right now. You can see them smiling at you, speaking your name with affection. You can feel the warmth of their gaze, the security of being wanted. You can construct this scene in rich detail until you lose awareness of your current surroundings and begin to live in that imagined reality. The more often you enter that scene, the more natural it becomes, and what feels natural must be expressed outwardly. The subconscious accepts as truth whatever you consistently feel to be true. It does not care if it's based on current facts. It only cares about your conviction. If you imagine a thing long enough, often enough, and with enough feeling, you will begin to behave as if it were already true. That behavior will align you with opportunities, conversations, and events that reflect your assumption. And without even trying, the outer world shifts. This is why imagination must be treated as sacred ground. Every time you imagine a scene, you are shaping your future. Every inner image is a seed. Every mental replay is a script. If you replay rejection, you invite it. If you rehearse being ignored, you create more of it. But if you rehearse love, acceptance, and connection, if you see yourself in their heart again and again, then you begin to embody that state. You radiate it, and it must return to you in kind. One powerful way to use imagination is to construct a short scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. Don't try to create a long movie. Choose a single moment that would naturally occur if your wish were fulfilled. Perhaps it's a soft conversation in which they tell you they've always loved you. Perhaps it's the feeling of their arms wrapped around you in silence. Perhaps it's the joy of hearing them say, "I'm so glad you're mine." Choose one scene. Play it over and over again. Always in the first person, always from the state of already having. Then watch yourself like a movie. Be the person experiencing the scene. Feel the weight of their hand in yours, the sound of their voice, the scent in the air. The more senses you involve, the more real it becomes. And once it becomes real to you inwardly, it must express itself outwardly. Not through force, not through manipulation, but through the law of assumption. What you assume to be true and continue to feel as true becomes your reality. This practice is not a one-time event, it is a daily choice. You must return to your imagination often, not just when you feel good, but especially when you feel disconnected. The world may tempt you to believe that nothing is changing, but imagination works in silence. It operates beneath the surface, and the moment you turn back to your vision, you align yourself again with its unfolding. When you see something in imagination, do not wait for confirmation. Accept it, claim it, live from it. Let it guide your thoughts, your words, your actions. Let it influence how you show up in the world. You are not pretending, you are knowing. You are holding fast to the reality that already exists in the unseen. And by doing so, you call it into form. The reason imagination is so powerful is because it bypasses resistance. You may not be able to change someone's behavior directly. You may not be able to control their choices. But in imagination, there are no limits. You can go straight to the version of them who loves you, the version who sees you, chooses you, and keeps you close. And by dwelling with that version in your mind, you awaken it in them. They begin to think thoughts they never thought before, feel feelings they never felt before. And they will not know why, but you will. This is not magic. It is law, the law that governs all creation, and imagination is its highest expression. It is the creative force made personal. When you understand this, you stop reacting to life and begin directing it. You stop asking, why don't they love me, and start declaring they do love me and I feel it now. You stop doubting, stop waiting, and begin to embody the reality you have imagined. With feeling. Imagination makes the invisible visible, it makes the impossible inevitable. And when you honor it, when you use it with intention and feeling, it becomes your most faithful servant. You no longer chase love, you imagine it, feel it, and become it. And what you become, you must receive. The world cannot help but yield to the reality you've claimed in the silence of your mind. You are not separate from love. This is the truth that sets you free. You are not lacking it, not waiting for it, not needing to earn it from another. You are it. The very essence of who you are is love, expressing itself in form. And when you understand this, truly understand it, not as a concept, but as a living reality, you stop seeking, you stop chasing, you stop wondering what someone else feels or thinks about you, because you realize that the source of love has always been within you. It is not something that comes from them to you, it flows from you and shapes how others respond. The moment you accept that you are already one with the love you desire, the illusion of separation dissolves. There is no need to wait for someone to love you when you are already in the state of being loved. And this state is not dependent on their actions. It is not conditional. It is not fragile. It is a state of being that you choose and claim. You don't need to see them confess their feelings or act a certain way to confirm what you already know. You carry the confirmation within your own consciousness, and it becomes your truth. When you believe you are separate from love, you begin to act out the role of the unchosen. You start to seek validation, to look outside yourself for signs that you are valued, remembered, wanted. But this very seeking only reinforces the feeling of lack. It pushes what you want further away because it affirms its absence. The one who knows they are in someone's heart does not need to beg for signs. They live as if it is already so, and in doing so, they become the embodiment of that union. This is why your assumption of being loved is not a wish or a hope. It is an active alignment. You are not forcing anything to happen. You are simply returning to the truth of who you are. The idea that someone else holds the power to love or reject you is part of the illusion. In reality, your world reflects the state you hold within. When you know yourself as the one who is already in their heart, your energy shifts. And this shift calls forth a new version of them, one that corresponds with the version of you that you have claimed. You must stop viewing love as something to be gained. It is not a transaction. It is not something you earn through effort, appearance, or behavior. The need to prove yourself comes from forgetting your true nature. You are love in human form, and when you rest in this awareness, you radiate a power that draws others in, not by strategy, but by the magnetic force of being. You become undeniable, not because you've convinced them, but because you remembered yourself. When you walk in the knowing that you are already connected to them, that the bond exists in spirit, you no longer feel fear when they seem distant. You no longer panic when they take time to respond or behave in ways that seem uncertain. You stay rooted in your state. You remain anchored in love, because you have decided that you are not separate from what you seek. You are it. You carry it, you express it, and because you do, the world must reflect it. This understanding gives you the power to release need, to release control, and to release attachment to outcomes. You're not chasing a specific version of events, you are living from a specific version of yourself. That version is loved, that version is desired, that version is already in the heart. You act from that place. You speak from that place. You assume from that place. And life takes the shape of your assumption. Many people think they must visualize harder, affirm longer, or behave in a certain way to make someone love them. But the truth is simpler. You must only be the version of you who is already loved. You must dwell in the feeling of being in their heart and make it your emotional home. And from that home, all things are added unto you. You don't need to figure out how it will happen. The how belongs to the intelligence of life. Your only job is to remain faithful to the feeling of oneness, of union, of love, already fulfilled. You are not on the outside trying to get in. That belief creates suffering. It creates longing, jealousy, desperation. But the moment you return to your inner state, you find peace. You find power. You find that the love you seek is not something to be given, it's something to be recognized. And once you recognize it, it begins to take form in ways that surprise you, ways you never could have planned or predicted. You are already in their heart when you believe you are. You are already chosen when you assume it. You are already united when you feel it as true. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. You are not trying to override their free will. You are awakening the version of them that already matches your state. Everyone in your world is playing the role your assumption casts them in. Change the assumption and you change the role. When you let go of the belief that you are separate from love, everything becomes easier. You stop searching for proof. You stop analyzing every word or silence. You stop fearing loss. Because you know that nothing can be lost when you are the source. And you are. The love you want is not coming from them to you. It is flowing through you, being reflected by them. The more you abide in this truth, the more naturally the reflection shows up. This is why acting like you are already in their heart is not a game. It is a return to the truth that you and the love you seek are one and the same. There is no gap to close. There is no time to wait. There is only the decision to feel it now, to claim it now, to live from it now. And once you do, you will see how everything bends around that decision. Life does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are being. And when you are being love, when you are being the one who is already in their heart, life has no choice but to echo that state in every direction. Live like the universe is yours, because it is. All that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination. The power that creates worlds lies not somewhere far away, but right where you are. Closer than your breath, nearer than your hands and feet. You are not at the mercy of fate, you are the maker of it. Your assumptions, your inner conversations, your beliefs, they are the seeds, and the outer world merely reflects the harvest. If you could only walk in the boldness of knowing that your imagination is the only reality, you would never beg, never chase, never doubt. You would not look to circumstances for validation, but to your inner state for confirmation. You would wake each morning with the joy of knowing that you possess the key, and sleep each night in peace, knowing that what you have imagined is already yours. There would be no room for fear, because the one who knows the end from the beginning lives in you. You do not need to strive. You do not need to hustle or fight. The moment you dare to assume something as true and persist in that assumption, the world bends itself to fit it. It may take a day, it may take a season, but it must come, it must conform. Reality is obedient to your inner conviction. This is law, eternal and unchanging. When you look upon the world, do not see lack, do not see separation, see only your reflection. If something appears missing, ask yourself, not why can't I have it, but where in my imagination have I denied it? Begin to dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Make it so natural, so normal, that the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. And when it does, you'll know it was never outside of you. It was always waiting for you to awaken. Live as though the riches, the love, the health, the freedom are already yours. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Walk through your day knowing that everything and everyone is responding to the state you occupy. If you occupy the state of wealth, wealth flows to you. If you dwell in love, love surrounds you. If you embody joy, joy reveals itself in every face, every moment. Do not let the senses fool you. They show only what has been. But you are not here to be ruled by what has been. You are here to create what will be. And creation begins not with effort, but with assumption. Assume it boldly. Walk in it faithfully. Feel it real. The world is your mirror, and it reflects not what you want, but what you are conscious of being. So become what you desire in the silence of your mind. Move in imagination from where you are to where you long to be. And once you have felt it fully, once you have lived it inwardly, it is done. The world will rearrange itself effortlessly to bring to pass the image you have impressed upon it. Live like the universe is yours, because in truth it has no life outside of your awareness. Everything begins within you. What you call the world around you is but a reflection of the world within you. The thoughts you think, the feelings you nurture, and the assumptions you carry are not idle movements of mind. They are the creative forces shaping your reality. Imagination is not a fleeting fantasy, nor a child's play, nor a distant dream. Imagination is divine. It is the secret place from which all things flow. The world you experience is molded and colored by the images you hold in consciousness. Nothing happens outside that wasn't first felt or accepted within. Imagination is the only reality. It is not just part of your mind. It is the mind of creation itself moving through you. If you would understand this truth, if you would really grasp it, not merely intellectually, but deep within your soul, you would live differently. You would walk each day as the master, not as the victim. You would stop reacting to appearances and begin to create from vision. Your imagination is not limited by time, by space, or by logic. It can go where your feet cannot. It can see what your eyes cannot, and it can do what the world would call impossible. It is your bridge to the unseen. When you imagine something clearly and persistently, it begins to harden into fact. The world must mirror back what you have impressed upon the invisible substance of consciousness. People often say, "I'll believe it when I see it," but the truth is the opposite. You see it when you believe it, when you imagine it, accept it, and live from it inwardly. You cannot wait for the world to show you proof. The proof comes after the inner conviction, never before. What is seen is temporary. What is unseen, what is imagined and felt, is eternal and causative. To doubt this is to remain a servant of the senses, to live by reaction instead of creation. But when you turn within and dare to believe in the reality of your inner world, you take your place as the creator. Do not underestimate the power of a single thought deeply felt. Do not dismiss the whispers of your imagination. They are not random. They are the blueprint of your world. Everything you experience, your relationships, your finances, your health, your opportunities, each is born from the assumptions you hold, the identity you carry within. If you constantly imagine lack, lack will show up. If you persist in imagining love, lack will surround you. It is not magic, it is law. And this law does not care whether you use it wisely or not. It simply reflects what you hold to be true. If you believe the world is hostile, it will be. If you believe it is abundant, so it shall be. Imagination is not selective in its loyalty. It gives to you exactly what you impress upon it. You are always imagining, whether consciously or unconsciously. The question is not if you are using imagination, but how. Every moment is a seed planted in the soil of your own mind. What you dwell upon, you become. What you feel repeatedly, you attract. What you assume as true, the universe takes as instruction. You must therefore become aware of your inner conversations. What are you saying to yourself when no one is listening? What stories are you telling about your worth, your potential, your future? Those inner dialogues are not idle. They are forming your tomorrow. If you want to change your world, you must first change your assumptions. You must choose thoughts aligned with the reality you desire to live in. Imagination is the tool by which you do this. It is the doorway to all transformation. It is your sacred power. Look at the world around you, not as something fixed, but as something fluid, something that bends and reshapes itself to the rhythm of your inner world. If you do not like what you see, do not fight with the reflection. Go back to the source, your own imagination. Everything outside is only an echo. The cause lives within. You are not waiting for the universe. The universe is waiting for you to make a claim through the power of thought and feeling. Do not wait for permission to imagine a better life. Do not ask the world if you are allowed to believe in something greater. You do not need the approval of anyone to assume that you are already the person you desire to be. Imagination is your birthright. It is the divine gift placed within you before time began. It needs no validation from the outer world, because it creates the outer world. When you sit quietly, close your eyes and imagine a scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled. Feel it, see it, embody it. You are entering the workshop of God. You are stepping into the realm where all things are made. You are taking the invisible and giving it form. You are reshaping your destiny in that sacred act of inner attention, and the world cannot help but respond to it, for the world is made of the same substance as your inner vision. You do not need to know how it will come to pass. That is not your role. Your role is to live in the end, to feel the reality of your desire, to let your imagination take you there again and again until it becomes more real to you than the facts of your current world. The moment it becomes real inside, the outer world begins to shift. Paths open, people appear, circumstances rearrange. But it all begins in you, always in you. You were never powerless. You were simply unaware. Now that you know imagination is the only reality, you can no longer pretend to be a victim of chance. You can no longer claim that life is against you when you are the one writing the script. Everything is responding to your state of being. Change that, and the world bends with you. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to step into the reality of your desire before it appears in the physical world. It means to claim inwardly what you have not yet touched outwardly. You are not pretending. You are not daydreaming. You are creating. You are bringing forth from the invisible substance of imagination something real, something alive, something that must take form. The moment you dare to feel the reality of what you desire, you set a creative process in motion that no man can stop. The outer world must bend itself to the tone of your inner state. You do not wait for the world to confirm your success, your love, your health. You assume it within. Now, you sit in the quiet of your own being and you feel what it would be like if it were already true. You do not look outside to measure the truth of your imagination. You feel it into being. Your senses may show you otherwise, but the senses always follow, not lead. Your work is to turn away from what is and turn inward to what can be, and then live from that inner certainty. You impress the subconscious with your assumption, and the subconscious builds the bridge of incidents that lead you there. What you assume to be true, what you feel to be real, will outpicture itself in your world. You cannot fool the law. It does not respond to words, effort, or longing. It responds to feeling. It responds to your conviction. If you say, "I am wealthy but feel poor," it is the feeling that takes root, not the phrase. If you affirm, "I am love," but carry the tone of abandonment, it is the loneliness that is expressed, not the affirmation. The secret is not in repeating words, but in entering the state where those words are true. You must ask yourself quietly and honestly, what would it feel like if this were already done? And then you must dwell in that feeling, not once, not twice, but until it becomes natural, until it feels like home, until your inner conversations match that new state. Your thoughts, your reactions, your emotions must begin to align with the world you have chosen to live in. Not the world you see now, but the world you desire. When the inner world changes, the outer must follow. There is no power outside of you creating your life. It is your own assumption that sets the course. It may come through unexpected channels. It may surprise you in its form, but it will come. The law is certain. The world cannot resist a man or woman who has claimed a state and feeling. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you become one with it. You are no longer desiring it. You are living it. You are no longer looking for it. You are it. This assumption is not about forcing or striving. It is about surrendering to the truth that imagination creates reality. It is about giving up your doubts and fears and stepping fully into the identity you desire. You don't wait until you see evidence to believe. You believe, and then the evidence comes. You walk as if it is already so. You speak from the state of already having. You think, feel, and respond as the one who has already received. And even when the world offers no confirmation, even when appearances scream the opposite, you persist. You hold the tone. You refuse to be moved, because you understand that the world cannot help but reflect your inner state. It is not stubbornness, it is faith. It is knowing. The moment you claim it inwardly, it begins to unfold outwardly. If you want love, imagine being loved. Don't imagine the process, don't worry about how, just feel it. See yourself in the arms of love. Hear the voice that tells you how cherished you are. Sense the presence of someone who truly values you. Let your heart warm to that feeling and stay there. Don't drop the state when the world offers contrast. Stay loyal to the unseen. If you want wealth, imagine what it feels like to be free. Feel the confidence, the ease, the joy of having more than enough. See the world through the eyes of abundance. Walk with the posture of someone who knows money is never an issue. Let the emotion of financial freedom saturate your being. Assume it. Wear it like a cloak, long before the bank balance reflects it. If you desire healing, see yourself as whole. Feel the energy of wellness moving through your body. Do not focus on symptoms. Focus on the feeling of being well. Talk to yourself as someone who has already recovered. Move, breathe, and rest in the awareness that your body is responding to the new command from within. This is not make-believe, this is not fantasy, this is creation. Creation is always inner first, the outer follows like a shadow, and the shadow cannot appear until the substance stands firm. Your assumption is the substance, the feeling is the command. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are issuing a decree to the universe, and that decree is law. The world has no choice but to comply. But it must be felt, not just once, but consistently. Not with strain, but with surrender. The more naturally you can feel your wish fulfilled, the faster it will manifest. You must become so familiar with that state that it no longer feels like a dream. It feels like a memory. You wake up and remember, this is who I am, this is what I have, this is where I live. Even in the face of delay, even in the silence of the unknown, you trust the seed you have planted in imagination. You nourish it with feeling, you water it with gratitude, you protect it with your thoughts. And it grows, it unfolds, it reaches into the world and shapes it to match your assumption. There is no power on earth that can stop the man or woman who lives persistently in the state of the wish fulfilled. They may not be loud, they may not be seen, but they are creators. They walk through life not begging, not hoping, not needing, but knowing. Knowing that what they assume, what they feel must come, because they are one with it, because they have already lived it in imagination, because they have already felt it real. You are not merely a body moving through space. You are not confined by the conditions of the outer world or limited by the facts of your current environment. You are awareness itself, limitless, creative, and infinitely powerful. Everything you touch, everything you observe, everything you engage with is filtered through the lens of your consciousness. The entire world is a mirror reflecting your state of being, and the truth is this: your state of consciousness determines your entire experience. You may believe that life is happening to you, but it is actually responding to you. The moment you accept that your inner world is causative and your outer world is reflective, you begin to step into your true power. Every thought you consistently hold, every feeling you entertain, every assumption you persist in is shaping the events, people, and circumstances of your life. There is no exception to this. The world cannot operate outside the bounds of your consciousness. What you are conscious of being, you inevitably express. Your identity, what you truly believe yourself to be, is the foundation upon which all your experiences are built. If you see yourself as a victim, you will attract experiences that affirm that state. If you carry within you the belief that you are unworthy, unnoticed, unloved, or unsafe, the world will rise up to echo that belief, not to punish you, but to reveal what you are holding inside. And likewise, if you assume yourself to be successful, loved, strong, and secure, the world must mirror that. It has no choice. It is compelled to reflect the nature of your inner state. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. The secret is not in trying to fix the outer world, but in shifting the inner state. The moment you change your concept of self, everything outside must change accordingly. Not through struggle, not through manipulation, not by chance, but by law. When you become something new inwardly, the universe reconfigures itself to show you evidence of that new version of you. You are not bound by what has been. You are not defined by your past. You are only ever defined by the state you are in right now. The present moment is your point of power. The future is not a place you are going to. It is a reality that is being created by your current assumption. If you live in the state of lack, the future will bring you more lack. If you dwell in the state of abundance, abundance must show up. The outer world is not the cause of your feelings, it is the result of them. This understanding frees you from the illusion that others control your destiny. It is not the economy, not your upbringing, not the people around you that dictate your reality. It is your own inner state. The world is your servant, not your master, and it cannot help but obey the tones of your inner being. If you want to see a different world, you must become a different person in consciousness. Everything begins with awareness. What are you aware of being? What inner conversations are you having throughout your day? What emotions are you repeatedly indulging in? These are not idle patterns, they are the seeds of creation. The dominant thoughts and feelings you nurture will blossom into form. The world around you is nothing more than crystallized imagination, hardened into facts. This is why you must guard your inner state with care. You cannot afford to let fear, doubt, and resentment occupy your consciousness, not because they are morally wrong, but because they are creative forces. They call forth their own kind. A state of fear will bring experiences that justify fear. A state of resentment will magnetize situations that continue the cycle. And a state of love will draw to it everything that resonates with love. The law is impersonal. It does not judge what you believe, it simply creates from it. If you believe you are always overlooked, that assumption takes form. If you believe you are supported, that too becomes your experience. The law does not pick favorites. It simply reflects. It mirrors back to you who you are in consciousness. To change your life, you must start by changing your concept of self. You must dare to assume that you are already the person you desire to be. Not someday, not eventually, but now. Because only what you accept as true now can be expressed. There is no other time but now. The future is always a projection of the present state. And so the great work is not to fight circumstances, but to lift yourself into a higher state of being. When you walk in the state of the person you want to become, your thoughts change, your feelings change, your reactions change. And because the world is a mirror, it must change in response. It may not happen instantly, there may be a period of adjustment. But if you persist in the new state and do not fall back into the old story, the world will reshape itself. It has no choice. The concept you hold of yourself is your destiny. If you want to experience a different reality, adopt a different self-image. If you want to receive something new, you must become someone new in feeling. You cannot expect the world to give you what you refuse to be. Every time you say, I am, and follow it with a thought or feeling, you are declaring who you are to the universe. And the universe answers by becoming that version of you. This is why awareness of self is the greatest power you possess. You do not need to change the world. You only need to change your identification. Stop identifying with limitation, with fear, with lack. Stop repeating the same old inner story. You have the power to assume anything, so why not assume the best? Why not claim a state that feels beautiful, expansive, free? Nothing outside of you needs to change first. It is the change within that brings the transformation without. Once you grasp that everything flows from consciousness, you begin to live intentionally. You stop reacting and start creating. You wake each day not to chase reality, but to decide what it will be. You do not beg for good things, you assume them. You do not plead with life, you align with it. Because you finally see that the world is only a canvas upon which your imagination paints, and you are the painter, always. Imagination is the womb of all creation. Every structure, every invention, every relationship, every experience that you call real once lived first in the unseen realm of thought and vision. The world you observe is not made of things. It is made of states of consciousness, and these states originate in imagination. You are not a passive observer of reality. You are the active imaginer of it, and the world simply reflects what you have dared to imagine and persist in. This is not a poetic notion, it is law. The imagination is not a toy. It is the very essence of your creative power. The life you are living today is the result of the images you have accepted as true, consciously or unconsciously. There is no power greater than the power of a controlled, disciplined, and vivid imagination. Imagination is the engine behind every outcome. You may believe you are acting from logic, planning your life by reason, but beneath every decision, every expectation, and every emotional reaction lies a deeper image, a picture you hold of yourself and your world. That picture is either guiding you upward into expansion or pulling you into repetition and limitation. The world cannot escape the blueprint you have set within. It is bound to reflect it, for imagination creates the pattern, and life fills it in. You might think you are limited by your past, your resources, or the opinions of others, but these are shadows, outpicturings of an inner pattern. You cannot change the shadow by working with the shadow. You must return to the source, to the root, to the image within. The inner image is the seed. The outer world is the harvest. If you desire a new outcome, plant a new image. You must dare to dwell in the feeling of what you want to experience, even if it defies your senses and contradicts your logic. The law does not require that you justify your desire or explain how it will come. It only asks that you assume its reality in your inner world, and then hold that assumption with faith and persistence. The imagination is not passive. It is not daydreaming or wishful thinking. It is the deliberate movement of consciousness into the scene of your desire. It is seeing with the inner eye, hearing with the inner ear, feeling with the inner body what your outer world has not yet shown. And this is where most fail. Not because the law does not work, but because they do not persist. They visit the state once, perhaps twice, and when the outer world remains unchanged, they return to the old story. But the law requires commitment. You must live in the end, not for a moment, not for an hour, but until that inner reality becomes more natural to you than the facts that surround you. Your senses are not your master. They are simply servants of your imagination. What you feel inwardly, your senses will eventually confirm. But the process is reversed in most lives. People see first and then believe. They wait for confirmation before they accept the state. Yet nothing can be confirmed that has not first been imagined. If you want to change the facts, you must ignore them long enough to replace them with a new assumption. This is not denial of reality. It is creation of a greater one. The world responds to inner conviction. When you imagine a scene with feeling, with vividness, and with repetition, you impress it upon the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, limitless, tireless, and completely obedient, goes to work shaping reality to match that impression. It does not judge whether the image is good or bad, big or small, right or wrong. It simply receives the blueprint and fulfills it. What you consistently imagine with feeling, you will experience in time. There is no power outside of this. The imagination is the workshop of the divine, and you are its craftsman. Everything you see around you was once unseen. The building you live in, the clothes you wear, the technology you use, the relationships you cherish, all were first born in the realm of mind. Someone, somewhere, dared to imagine them into being. And the same process is happening in your life. You are constantly imagining, whether consciously or not. Every fear is a misuse of imagination. Every worry is a prayer for what you do not want. Every limiting belief is a picture held in mind and sustained by repetition. The question is not whether you are imagining, the question is what you are imagining. Begin now to use this power deliberately. Choose the state you wish to dwell in and imagine from it. Do not merely think of the desire, imagine from it. Feel what it is like to already have it. Enter the scene mentally, walk through it, touch it, smell the air, hear the sounds. Make it alive within you and it will become alive around you. You do not need to force the outer world into shape. You only need to persist in the inner world long enough for it to crystallize. Let the outer facts do what they may. Let appearances contradict your inner knowing. That is their role, to challenge you into a deeper conviction. But you must hold the image steady. The world may try to convince you that nothing is changing, but if you persist, the world will yield. It has no choice. It is the servant of your inner state. Whatever you impress deeply enough will become fact, not by accident, not by luck, but by law. There is no dream too big for the imagination. There is no condition too fixed, no circumstance too far gone. Everything is fluid in the hands of the imaginer. The world may seem solid, but it is malleable. The people, the places, the events of your life are all drawn to you by the magnetic force of your sustained imagination. If you want to change the cast of characters in your life, change the story you tell within. See yourself not as the victim of the script, but as its author. You can at any moment revise your past by imagining it differently. You can reframe your identity, shift your expectations, and call in new experiences by entering a new state of consciousness. Do not wait for permission. The universe responds to bold imaginers, not passive observers. The world will catch up to your inner world, but it cannot lead it. You must go first in imagination. When you assume a new role inwardly, the script rewrites itself to match. Doors open, people appear, circumstances rearrange, not through force, but through resonance. Your responsibility is not to figure out how your desire will manifest. Your responsibility is to dwell in the end, to live mentally in the reality of the wish fulfilled. This is the creative act. This is the real prayer. Not begging or pleading, but knowing and assuming. The moment you imagine with faith, you have planted the seed. Water it with persistence. Nourish it with emotion and shield it from doubt. In time, it will break through the surface and reveal itself as your lived experience. You are always imagining something. The question is, are you imagining what you want or what you fear? Are you using your imagination as a tool of creation or a weapon of limitation? Every image, every scene you entertain carries within it the power to shape your life. If you would only discipline your mind, train your attention, and persist in the vision of what you desire, you would see how quickly the outer world must conform, not because the world is your servant, but because you are its source. You are not separate from what you seek. This is the illusion that keeps humanity bound, believing that your desires are far off, that you must travel time and space to reach them, or that you must become something other than who you already are in order to be worthy of them. The truth is much simpler and far more profound. What you deeply desire is already yours in consciousness, and by assuming that it is so, you cause the outer world to align. All longing is the recognition of what already exists within you, waiting to be claimed by your awareness. Everything you could ever want is already finished in the invisible realm. There is no need to make it happen. You only need to awaken to it. The secret is assumption, the quiet, confident acceptance that it is done. The outer world is merely a mirror reflecting your inner convictions. If you see lack, struggle, and delay, it is because you have assumed separation. You have imagined the thing you desire to be far off, unattainable, or meant for someone else. But this is a trick of the senses. In truth, there is no distance in consciousness. There is only now. And in the eternal now, everything is present. To live like the universe is yours, you must claim your inheritance with feeling. You must stop waiting, stop hoping, stop asking, and begin knowing. Knowing that you are already one with your desire. Knowing that every desire is a divine seed implanted in your soul, and its presence is the promise of its fulfillment. You would not desire it if it were not already yours. The wish comes to you because your higher self knows it is part of your divine unfolding. You are not trying to create it from nothing. You are merely revealing what has always been. When you walk through life assuming that your good is already present, everything shifts. You speak differently, you move differently, you respond to life with confidence rather than doubt. You stop chasing and start allowing. You stop reacting to circumstances and start creating from within. The world must then rearrange to match your inner state because it has no power of its own. It can only echo what you have accepted as true. The mind is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. The thoughts you consistently entertain become the patterns the world reflects. When you persist in the feeling of having your desire, even while your senses scream otherwise, you assert your dominion, you claim your power as a creator, and this power does not require force or effort. It requires belief. It requires stillness. It requires the inner conviction that you and your desire are one. Most people do not receive what they want because they wait for the outer world to confirm their new state before they believe in it. They say, I will feel rich when the money comes, or I will feel loved when the person appears. But this is backward. You must feel rich while your bank account still reflects lack. You must feel loved while you are still alone. You must feel healthy while the symptoms still persist. This is not deception, it is alignment. You are not lying to yourself. You are refusing to be lied to by the senses. You were not born to be a beggar in the universe. You were born to be a master of it. Every time you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you shift timelines, you change your identity, you move into a reality where your desire is already fact. This shift is not visible at first, but it is powerful. It sets unseen forces into motion. People, places, events, and even so-called coincidences begin to align with the version of you that you are now embodying. But you must stay faithful to the new state, even in the face of delay or contradiction. The bridge of incidents will unfold. The outer world will catch up. But you must not abandon the state. The reason imagination works so perfectly is because everything is consciousness. Your body, your surroundings, your circumstances. They are all consciousness expressed. When you shift consciousness, you shift form. This is why you do not have to change the people around you. You do not need to convince them, plead with them, or manipulate them. You only need to change your own concept of self, and the world will reflect that change. The person you were longing for will appear differently. The opportunities you thought were blocked will suddenly open, not because you forced anything, but because you aligned. Alignment is not passivity. It is creative mastery. It is deciding once and for all that you are not a victim of life, but the cause of it. You are the cause, you are the center. And the universe, this vast, endless, eternal universe, is the mirror of your inner world. It is not outside of you, it is within you. There is nothing out there acting upon you. There is only your state of being, constantly projected and returned. So take a moment not to wish, but to feel, to assume, to know. See yourself already having what you once longed for. Walk through the world as though it is already yours. Give thanks not for what is coming, but for what already is. Let your assumptions be so vivid, so alive, that they leave no room for doubt. Let your inner reality become more real to you than the facts you can touch. The moment you do this, the moment you accept that what you seek is already yours, the outer world begins to move. You have been taught to believe in effort, struggle, and delay. But these are human ideas. The law of the universe is simple. You receive what you accept. You do not receive what you beg for, or what you wish for, or what you fear. You receive what you assume. This is why those who assume success often receive it, even when they are not the most talented. This is why those who walk in confidence often draw admiration, even before they prove themselves. It is not because the world rewards effort. It is because the world reflects belief. Imagine, just for a moment, that the thing you desire most has already come to pass. Not in some distant future, not dependent on time or circumstance, but now, complete, real, and yours. Close your eyes to the external world, to the noise and delay, and enter the sacred silence where all things are already made. In that place, you are not waiting, you are knowing. You are not hoping, you are possessing. You are not striving, you are being. That is the difference between the one who dreams and the one who creates. One believes it might happen, the other walks in the reality of its fulfillment. This is not about blind belief, it is about spiritual certainty. A deeper knowing that what you have imagined is more real than what your five senses can confirm. Your senses deceive. They report the past. They show you a reflection of your former states of being. But your imagination, your inner world, is the birthplace of all that will be. When you act as if it is already done, you are no longer trying to bring it about. You are simply allowing the unseen to take form, like mist becoming rain, like thought becoming flesh. What you accept inwardly without doubt or contradiction must express itself outwardly. Life has no choice, it is law. When the inner man moves in conviction, the outer world bends in obedience. You do not need to force outcomes, manipulate circumstances, or plead with others. You only need to walk in the assumption that what you desire is already yours. It is finished. And from that invisible conclusion, everything else must follow. Think of a man who longs to be wealthy. He does not become rich by merely wishing. He becomes rich when he walks, talks, thinks, and feels like a wealthy man. Not arrogance, but embodiment. Not pretense, but presence. He sleeps in the consciousness of affluence. He wakes up with the calm assurance that his wealth is secure. The world, seeing only what he expresses, begins to mirror it back. Opportunities, people, events, they arise to match his inner certainty. He did not chase them, they were drawn to his state. Or imagine a woman desiring love. She does not sit and cry in the absence of it. She clothes herself in love's feeling. She moves through life as if love is her constant companion. She smiles as though she is already adored. She speaks with the sweetness of someone treasured. And because she has prepared a place within her heart, love must appear. Not as a random miracle, but as a faithful consequence of the state she lives in. Every desire is a seed, and acting as if it is already done is the watering of that seed. It is the warmth, the light, the care that allows the unseen tree to grow. But many destroy their seed through doubt, impatience, or disbelief. They plant it in the garden of the mind, then dig it up each day to check for progress. They do not trust the process. They do not live from the end. They live from the waiting. And so they remain suspended in lack. You must not wait to feel the joy of your dream. Feel it now. Embody the result now. Give thanks now. Live as if the door has already opened, the letters already arrived, the healing has already occurred, the change has already happened. Your feeling is the secret. It is the magnet. It is the voice that calls the future into the present. If you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the outer world will align itself to reflect your inner conviction. The mind, once impressed by the truth of a fulfilled desire, reshapes every thought to serve that reality. You will find yourself speaking differently, choosing differently, walking differently. Not because you are forcing yourself to, but because your state has shifted, and a new state expresses itself automatically. Like water flowing downhill, your reality begins to gather around the assumption you carry. Acting as if does not mean pretending. It means living in the unseen truth so faithfully that it must become seen. It means entering the feeling of the fulfilled state and refusing to betray it. It means turning away from appearances and anchoring yourself in the deeper vision. Others may call it delusion, but what they call delusion, you will call destiny. Because every man who changed the world first changed his inner world. He lived ahead of the evidence, and the evidence arrived in time. If you can remain faithful to that unseen reality, if you can rise in the morning and feel the joy of it, walk through the day with the dignity of it, and rest at night in the peace of it, you will know the power of creation, not through effort, but through embodiment, not by fighting the world, but by transcending it. What is done within must echo without. So live from it now, not tomorrow, not after proof, but now, as if it is already done. To live from the end is to accept without resistance or question that your desire is already accomplished. It is not a process of trying, waiting, or hoping. It is the deliberate movement of consciousness into the state where the desired thing is already real. You no longer look at the thing you want from a distance. You occupy. You dwell in it. You think from it. The shift is subtle yet absolute. It changes the way you think, feel, speak, and respond. Not because you are forcing it, but because your identity has changed. You are no longer a seeker, you are the possessor. And that change in identity transforms everything. Living from the end means walking through life as if the outcome you once desired has already been realized. If you desire success, you do not act as someone chasing success. You act as someone who already lives in it. You make decisions from that place. You hold conversations from that place. You carry yourself with the composure, certainty, and quiet confidence of someone who already possesses what they once longed for. This is not a performance. It is not a game of fake it until you make it. It is an inner shift in awareness. You no longer identify with lack. You no longer identify with absence. You identify with fulfillment. And fulfillment begins to take form. Everything in life is governed by the state of consciousness you dwell in. The world, despite appearances, is not responding to your words, your efforts, or even your desires. It is responding to your inner state. And your state is determined by what you accept as true. When you live from the end, you are not trying to get to your goal. You are allowing it to unfold because in your inner world, it is already finished. You are not pushing, chasing, or doubting. You are being. And being has power. Many people live in the state of I want. They feel the absence of their desire and call that focus. But to feel the absence of what you want is to perpetuate the very state you wish to escape. You cannot manifest fulfillment while identifying with lack. You must move your awareness to the state of I have. This is the essence of living from the end. You feel the satisfaction now. You feel the relief. You feel the joy now. Not because you are delusional, but because you understand that consciousness is the only reality. And whatever you accept inwardly with feeling must be expressed outwardly in form. Think of it as building a house. You begin not with the wood or stone, but with the blueprint. The structure exists in your mind before it exists on your land. In the same way, your fulfilled desire must exist in your imagination before it can take shape in the world. If you refuse to live in the house of your imagination, the outer world has nothing to build from. But if you dwell in it, if you see it, feel it, occupy it daily, then the tools of reality begin to assemble what already exists in the unseen. Living from the end is the act of moving in before the house appears. And your faith in that movement brings the house into view. This principle applies to all things. If you desire love, you do not wait to feel loved. You feel it now. You move as one who is cherished, chosen, and deeply seen. You do not seek validation. You express completeness. If you desire healing, you do not focus on sickness. You walk, breathe, and think as one who has been restored. You do not argue with symptoms. You align with the reality of wellness. And slowly, silently, surely, the body obeys the mind that commands from a place of certainty. If you desire financial abundance, you do not dwell in fear of bills or struggle. You carry the energy of someone who already has enough, gives freely, and moves confidently. The world, watching your new rhythm, begins to echo it. Living from the end demands imagination and discipline. You must turn your back on appearances and hold fast to the unseen truth. This is where many falter. They return to the senses for confirmation, and when the world shows the old state, they collapse back into doubt. But living from the end means persisting in the new state, even when the outer world denies it, especially when it denies it. That denial is not a sign of failure. It is a test of loyalty. Will you serve the old reality, or will you remain faithful to your inner knowing? Those who succeed are those who do not abandon their vision. They live in the result, and the world must catch up. The mind is the womb of reality. Whatever is conceived there, held in feeling and protected from doubt, must be born. Living from the end is the act of conception. It is the moment you move from wanting to having, from separation to union. It is an invisible shift, but one with visible consequences. When you walk in the end, speak from the end, and sleep in the end, you are announcing to the universe that the work is done. And because creation responds to your assumption, it begins to arrange the world accordingly. You do not need to know how it will happen. The mechanism is not your concern. The path is none of your business. What matters is the state you dwell in. The state carries within it the pattern, the direction, and the means of expression. Live from the state, and the details take care of themselves. That is the beauty of this principle. You are not the doer, you are the chooser. And when you choose the end and dwell in it with feeling, the doing is done through you. There is a sacred confidence that comes from living in the end. It quiets fear, it dissolves impatience, it silences doubt. You are no longer on a journey toward your dream. You are resting in the reality of it. Every step you take, every word you speak, every action you perform is colored by that deep certainty. You no longer ask if it will happen. You ask, what would I do now that it already has? And that question becomes your compass.